bum 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 bum. Ba-da-da-dum bum bum ba-dum ba-ba-dum. Rum bum 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 ba-dum bum 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 bum. Ba-da-da-dum bum bum ba-dum ba-ba-dum. Hi friends. Good evening. It's Monday night. Howdy, hi-ho silver, and away we go. Let's get started, friends, because we got a lot to talk about tonight. We could spend really a couple hours on this subject, which is feet, piggy toes, the things that we walk on. So my name is Joette Calabrese, friends, and this is what we do every Monday night. We do one thing and one thing only, and that is we talk about homeopathy. I teach you what I know. I show you how to find information. I teach you what one of the best ways to use homeopathy, because there are many different ways. The best way that I have found to use homeopathy, and that I hope that you connect with each other. I love to see our community grow. It has grown exponentially. We're seeing tens of thousands of people who are starting to follow the work that we're doing here. So it's really very inspiring. And so for those of you who do know me, welcome, my friends. It's great to see you. Hi, friends. Weak audio. It's a weak audio, Perry. Yes, I'm going to speak very closely. Does it make a difference if I'm coming in very low? Let's tell me if it's any better now. Can hardly hear at all. Yeah. Yes, we're going to turn the camera off for a minute, and we're going to see what we can do. Hold on one little minute. We can't hear you. Can't hear you. Please turn up the volume. Let's see what else we can do. Can you hear me any better when I get very, very close? It's better. Yes, better. Yes, yes. Something you've just done did something, Perry. Or it's because I'm close to the microphone. Yes, good, 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 good. Those are Perry's arms, Perry's busy hands. Better, good. Much better, thanks. Hi. Sounds good. All righty. But let me ask you this. If I stand like this or if I sit this way, does it make it difficult to hear then? Let's see how it goes. Sound is fine. I think it was a connection. Great. Okay, let's get at this, shall we? They say that as we age, we need the strength in our legs and our muscles. Sarcopenia is something that we do have to be concerned about. But it goes without saying, I would think, that our feet are even more important as we age because we need to move. We need to walk. And walking can, in some scientific circles, they say that it will fend off so many conditions, including particularly dementia. And I have dementia in my family, and I want to be sure that that doesn't occur to me. But I don't believe that dementia is as much inherited as it is lifestyle. So I work at it, or I like to think that I work at it. I think we all like to think that we're doing the right thing. So I want to be sure that my feet are in good shape. I do wear, my friends, I'll be honest, I wear heels. Not during the day, of course. I'm usually barefoot or in ballet slippers all day. I mean, real ballet, little ballet slippers. I walk on the beach barefoot. But when I go out, I do wear heels. And I like the look, and it's worth it to me, I guess. I don't actually believe that heels occasionally, as I wear them, once a week, maybe once every couple of weeks, really make that much difference. But nonetheless, I'm going to do whatever I can when I'm not wearing them because I'm willing to put up with it to a certain degree. All righty. So let's see who's here. Okay. Makes it harder to hear the further away from the mic that you are. Okay, good. Thank you, Elizabeth. All righty. Hi from Ajax, Ontario, says Rona. And Indiana. Let's hear where everybody is coming from. I love to see where you're from. Hello from Wallaroo Plain, Australia. Wallaroo, what a great name. Wallaroo Plain. Hello from Oregon, the San Diego gal. And I love the name of your town in Australia. It's pretty good, isn't it? San Diego, beautiful town. Love it. All right, friends. I can see Ohio, South Carolina, more in Ontario. Hello from Maine and from Texas and Atlanta, Georgia, and Albany. All righty, good. Hello from Georgia, Massachusetts, Haverhill, Massachusetts, and Chico, California. Hi, Chico. I spoke there once. It's a nice little town. Hello from Virginia and more Georgia, Wallaroo. There we go, back to Wallaroo again. Montreal, Michigan, Rochester. Very good. San Antonio. Beautiful. Love to see you all, friends. Okay, let's get started, shall we? Whether it's plantar fasciitis, arthritis, neuropathy, that's what I wrote as to encourage folks to hop in. Or that mysterious ache that won't quit. We're covering the most concerning conditions. Now, we could go on and on as far as feet are concerned because it's more than just pain in the joints or the muscles or the tendons. It's also skin, so people who have things like corns and blisters and that kind of thing as well. So, but tonight we're going to talk about, I'll go through it rather randomly, okay, if you don't mind. So, I'm not going to be talking about protocols, but as I teach in my academy, even if there are no protocols for a specific condition, we can use the pattern of a protocol to a certain degree. A protocol that was similar, a protocol that was using the same medicine but for a different condition. We can consider the same potencies, and so I'll give you some ideas on that. Now I'm going to go to my Meta Repertory by, excuse me, it's the 4th edition by Robin Murphy. And I'm going directly to the chapter on feet. Now, for those of you who don't know anything about a repertory, I'm going to tell you there are no sentences, no paragraphs. All it is listings of conditions and symptoms all known to mankind, and the names of the homeopathic medicines that have either been proven in provings, which are double-blind tests, or clinically shown to be useful. And then they are rated as to the remedies that are the most we might say most important, but what we really mean is when they're bold and printed in bold, we know that means they are more likely to be of great use because it's been shown time and again, either clinically or through provings, etc., to do so. Now, remember, homeopathy is over 200 years old. It started in the late 1700s by Dr. Samuel Hahnemann. So we have a lot of clinical information. We have a lot of provings. We have a lot of double-blind studies that have shown that homeopathy is as efficacious as we declare it is. So we're going to, I'll give you the main medicines that I think are the most valuable for each of these conditions and some of the symptoms themselves. And you're going to see, for those of you who are not new to homeopathy or just, kind of getting the hang of it, you're going to see some of the same medicines over and over again, not only for the feet, but you might find the same medicine as for arthritis of the knee or arthritis of the hands, etc. So you're going to see these kinds of patterns coming up, and that's the way I like to teach homeopathy, is so that people can pick up, they can draw from their past references or from the references and from their past experiences. All right. Now, I don't have my glasses, and I don't wear glasses all the time, but I do wear them when I use the book. However, I did find these. I don't even know if they're any good. I found them in a drawer. Let's see if I can get them cleaned up at least enough. They're kind of silly glasses. They're the kind that you get from a drugstore, but I don't have prescription anyway, so we'll see how it goes. All righty. Feet. I'm for those of you who are in the repertory with me, you can go right to the feet section, and it starts on page 823. And of course, there's all kinds of conditions: arthritic, sensation of banding, blisters on the feet, a rush of blood to the feet, etc. There's so many conditions that we can consider here. Aching pain in the feet, in the back of the feet, after exercise, or exercise ameliorates, or of the heels, etc. It's so fascinating. There's so many. This whole book is fascinating. It's the Bible of homeopathy, as far as I'm concerned. Okay, let me just take a sip of water. All righty. People are funny. What ducky feet. Yeah. Yes, hi, Heather. You're right. It's the true scientific method because we use true provings and we consider clinical experience extremely important too. All righty. Feet. Let's look at aching pain because I think that's the most common. And the first remedy I always think of for aching pain anywhere, particularly if we've used the feet too much. Let's say we were wearing the wrong shoes, or we walked much longer than we expected to, or we were we had to run in the airport, and it really was more than we expected and didn't have the correct shoes on. I always think of arnica. I want you always to be thinking arnica is great for overdoing it in terms of kind of being a little beat up, that sensation of feeling beat up. So I love arnica. Now, what's fascinating is that different joints shows us to use different medicines. So for the soles of the feet that are aching, the sole of the foot that's aching, I also think of rhus tox. And I have to say that I don't have problems necessarily with my feet, but I have from time to time felt that I've overdone it and they ache and they hurt. And so I'll often use two medicines. Yes, my friends, the blasphemous idea of using two medicines simultaneously. Now, I don't mean in the same moment in my mouth, but I would alternate them. I would toggle between them. And I would use Arnica montana and rhus tox, rhus toxicodendron. I love those two medicines, not just for the feet, other areas of the body when we've overdone it, we've overused them. They feel beat up, whether it's feet or even other joints. I mean, there's so many bones in the feet, so many opportunities for joints to be inflamed. So I would use both of them. And I would use them. Would I use them in a 6? I could use them in a 6. Would I use them in a 30? Perhaps. I most likely, more often than not, personally, I'm telling you what I do for myself and what I would encourage a student or a client to use, and that would be in a 200C. And I would toggle between them. At 9 in the morning, I might use arnica, and then around 9:30, I might use rhus tox, and then I might wait a couple hours and then do it again. Say at 11 and then 11:30. So 11 back to arnica, 11:30 rhus tox, back 1 o'clock, 1:30, 3 o'clock, 3:30, etc. But here's the key, my friends, and I know that those of you who have been with me, my students, I see many of my academy students here, you know this already, but I want new people to know this. I want them to get the hang. I want you, my friends, to get the hang of it. This is how do I say? I say it all the time, so I shouldn't have to think about it. This is health freedom. Because if you didn't know this and didn't do this, you'd be at a podiatrist's office, perhaps. You'd be at a rheumatologist's office. You'd be tested, prodded, probed, poked, and medicated. And you'd be medicated for a long time. Because if every time you use your feet, overuse them, this happens, you're going to be taking drugs and more drugs and more drugs and more drugs. So, and we want to do everything we can to avoid using drugs. Why? Because they're a burden. They're a burden on the body. Absolutely health freedom, says Michelle D'Agostino. Yes, hi, Michelle. So nice to see you. They're a burden on the body. The liver has to cleanse them. It has to be gotten rid of somehow through the respiration, through the skin, through the urine, through the stool, whatever. The body has to get rid of these drugs. And we don't need an extra burden on our body just to deal with pain. Now that might seem ridiculous. Well, of course it's worth it if you've got pain. Not if we have this alternative, not when we have homeopathy, because there are no side effects. And it's very inexpensive. And it's something that we can do ourselves and teach our children and our grandchildren and our friends. So, okay, arnica and rhus tox. Now, I want to also point out that when there are nodositis of the toes, of the joints in the feet, we're going to be thinking of another medicine. We might think of rhus tox, of course, but in the feet, for certain joints have an affinity to certain homeopathic medicines, and it's usually ledum for arthritic nodositis. So now that's true arthritis. Now, arthritis really just means inflammation of the joint. But we all know that an inflammation of the joint could come and go because we've overused the body, or it could also be established and it's now chronic. So when we see that there are nodes of sorts around the joints of the toes, I want you to be thinking of ledum. What potency? 6, perhaps 30, perhaps 200. I would go for 200. If it's something like that, that's a chronic condition. Now I would use that twice daily. Yeah, I would use that twice daily. Okay, let's get on, because I know people are asking about certain things. What about painful foot cramps at night? Now, let me also say, I have had that. We've all probably had it. I especially had it during pregnancy. And it is, in my estimation, we are missing something. We're missing some kind of nutrient, most likely minerals, most likely magnesium or others. And so I urge people, if that is irregular, I urge them to drink water on a regular basis and add minerals, add minerals. That's really what we're looking for. That's what I have in my water right here. I just put a couple drops of minerals in my water most times when I take a drink of water. Now, what do we do homeopathically, though? I don't want to just put it off nutritionally, because there is a case to be made for nutrition and for supplements, certain kinds of supplements, that kind of supplement. But I'm going to say that we can also take care of that homeopathically. What is the medicine for that? The main medicine for cramps in the feet, the toes, the feet, and even the calves is cuprum. Cuprum metallicum. Cuprum metallicum, my friends. Copper, homeopathic copper. And I like to actually use that. I've used it in a 6, I've used it in a 200, but I'm going to teach it tonight to use it in a 30 or a 6, the lower potencies, because it's something that can be taken nightly before bed. Now, in addition to that, we also want to be thinking about magnesium. Magnesium is often a problem. We're not getting enough magnesium. Is it that we don't get enough, or is it that what we're eating is drawing away from our stores or drawing away from our ability to utilize magnesium? Now, I'm not a nutritionist, friends, in case you can't tell, but I have been keenly interested in it for many, many years. And so I think that we need to focus on protein, eating animal protein every day. And sometimes that goes away on its own. Okay. Oh yeah, the bar of soap in the sheets down below at the bottom of the bed. I know a lot of people say that. I'd like to know how that works for people, because I have read that before. Arthritis, tightening of nerves in your hand. Well, let's talk about feet today. Let's see if we can keep it going. Hold a bar of soap really works. Gout in the toes. Gout. Today, I'm not going to do gout. I want to do gout next time. I'm going to do that the next time we meet. Gout is it's not that big, but I want to go into very specifics like that. I want to give kind of a broader picture today, and next week we'll go into gout, and maybe we'll go into, what was the other one I was thinking about doing? Corns and calluses, etc. So we also have bunions. I want you to be thinking about bunions, because they can be very painful. Similar to gout, but not quite. Not quite. Bunions are on page 624. And one of the main medicines for bunions is silica. Now, the Banerjees taught me to use, but for bunions, silica, and just pretty much just silica. That's all we use. I think it was a 200C is what we've used in the past, and it's once a day. Now, I have to say that I also would very much consider antimonium crude as well. Antimonium crude or antimonium crudum, because both of those medicines can be useful for bunions as well. So another one that I want to talk about is, hold on one second, let me take another sip. Okay. All right. Foot cramps. Okay, we've already talked about that. The other one I want to talk about is chilblains. Now, I love that word. It's such a cool word. Many people may not even know what chilblains is, what that condition is. Chilblains is just before complete frostbite. It's when the feet get very, very cold, or the hands, or anywhere for the nose, the ears. But the feet are very susceptible. And subsequent to that, years later, the person still has pain in the feet or in the toes as a result of it. Now, the reason I bring this up is because I know many of you are in Canada and in the north. Now I realize there's some of you, many in Florida as well, and Southern California, etc. And I don't know what the temperature's like in Australia, in that part of Australia. But I do want you to remember this, because this is a concern that we don't often think about. And what I mean by that is someone may have pain in the feet, and you've used the remedies. You've used Roostox. You've used Arnica. You've used Ledum, etc. We're going to talk about a couple of others. And it's just not touching it. And then the person reports to you that it was never the same ever since they were skiing 10 years ago and got a frostbite or chilblains. That gives you information that would be more useful to you to know right up front if you had it. And in that case, we're going to use a remedy called agaricus. Agaricus. And, for those of you who are new here, these words are Latin. They are phonetic. They are so simple. Agaricus. So easy. Just because it's a foreign word doesn't make it something that's not something. Doesn't make it something that's incomprehensibly difficult to spell. Agaricus. And again, I might use that in a 30th potency. Now let me talk to you about, where did that go? I talked about general pain and soreness. And that is, as I said, Arnica. And I also said Roostox, but there's another one. There's another one. And for those of you who've been studying with me, you know which one this is. Very closely related to Roostox. Let's see if anyone knows what it is. Plantar fasciitis. Yes, it's also useful for plantar fasciitis, which is basically what we're talking about here with the tendons now and the sinuous matter in the feet. It's not the soft, it's not on top, it's not actually in the joint, it's more in the fascia. What if, let's see what we've got. Let's see if anybody comes up with a remedy that is so closely related to Roostox. Thank you, very Ellen in Arlington, Virginia. Absolutely, it's Ruta. That's what I'm thinking. I'm not saying the others are wrong, but Ruta. Ruta Grav, says Deborah in Wichita. Yep, Ruta. Yep, Phoenicia. Yep, and yes, very good, very good. Ruta. Ruta, R-U-T-A, graveolens. Ruta graveolens is one of our great remedies for sore feet, and especially plantar fasciitis. Now, I'm also going to tell you, my friends, again, I'm going to remind you, I am not a nutritionist, but I read constantly on nutrition. It's a very great interest of mine. And a lot of times these pains that we have are as a result of what we're eating. And so you may already know that I feel very strongly about eating animal products. And I'm sorry for those of you who are vegan. You're still my friend. I was vegan for years. And I mean years. And before that, I was macrobiotic. And so I didn't eat any animal products at all. Nothing. Nada. Zilch. Not even butter. Not even fish. Even though macrobiotics, you can eat fish. I rarely ate it. So I want you to know that we can still be friends. And I want you to just consider this thought that a lot of plants have anti-nutrients in them that can draw from our stores of nutrition, and they can also have oxalates. And oxalates often, not always, but often accumulate in small joints, such as in the toes. So I want, and in the thumbs and in the fingers, but even in large joints, shoulders and hips. I want you to look at oxalates. If you're drinking carrot juice every day, if you're juicing kale, if you're juicing spinach, if you're eating a lot of spinach, my friends, I want you to think about that. And it will not necessarily resolve instantly, but it can resolve over time. So I want to remind you that as much as I believe that homeopathy can do great work, why not get to the bottom of it? If there is something that we're imbibing or that we're eating every day or every few days, it might be worth our while to make that correction. All right. Now we also have page 8. What was that? Page 838 I wanted to go to because of numbness, which is pretty common. And I want us to think about that because numbness is a very important condition. Could be insulin problems, could be diabetes. That's something that is a concern. So we want to make sure that we are being very careful about watching that and making sure that if that starts to happen, that yes, we use the homeopathic medicines, but we also want to pay attention to our A1C plus other metrics. A1C is not the only metric for diabetes, my friends. So I want you to be watching that, making sure that you don't have an insulin problem, you don't have an oxalate problem, etc. So let's just talk about numbness. And that's on page 838. And there are a number of medicines here. And one of the biggest ones is agaricus, argentum nitricum, arsenicum, calculus, conium. I'm just reading them off to you. I don't expect you necessarily to write this down. Graphites, nux vomica, phosphoric acidum, and phosphorus. Those are the top remedies for numbness. Now, if it's a certain area of the feet, now we can talk, and I'll tighten this up for you in a moment. If it's the back of the feet, then we are thinking of specific ones such as graphites or thuya. If it's after eating, numbness in the feet after eating. How interesting is that? Calicarb. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up, because it's not a very common rubric. There's only one remedy in that rubric. It's not a very common condition. But I'm bringing it up because for those of you who are new to homeopathy, I want you to understand that although I try to give you a generalized picture of how to use these medicines based on a condition or symptoms, I want you to know that homeopathy often does tease apart the specific aspects of how it's presenting, such as after eating. That's unique enough that if someone noticed that their feet are numb after eating and they were to use this beautiful repertory and come right down and find this medicine, it would likely be a pretty darned good choice. So that's why I like to bring this up. I want to give you protocols. I want to make it easy. I want to give you generalized ones, but I also want you to note that there are times when we do very much have to be very specific about how the symptoms are presenting. And then there are also heels. The numbness in heels. Numbness in the heels. Not numbness in the feet, specifically in the heels. And then we're looking at something like aluminum or stramonium. All righty. There's so much we could talk about. Hold on. All righty. Because next time I'd like to talk about, athlete's foot and calluses and those kinds of things as well. And athlete's foot. So we're going to do that next time. I want to just get started on this. So we're going to work on feet, and as I call them for my children, piggy toes, and then we're finishing up here, and we're going to go to Joette's Mighty Members. For those of you who are members, stay on. For those of you who are not members, do consider joining in, because I'm sure that my team has put in the link so that you can join in and become a member of Joette's Mighty Members, where I kind of I give you a little more information. I'm a little more candid, perhaps. I give you more of my opinions that I'm not willing to share as much as I might otherwise, because this is the internet we're meeting on now. Yeah, next week we'll talk about toenail fungus as well. Very doable, friends. All of these conditions, very doable. Not overnight, necessarily. But if you're willing to wait and give these medicines a chance, I think you will be very pleasantly surprised. So Mara DS wants to know, how do we sign up? All right, so if we could have one of my, whoever's in today, I don't know if this is Serena or Nath, or someone who can give a little link in for signing up to Joette's. Yeah, go to Joette's Learning Center.com. Joette's without an apostrophe. JOETTES Learning Center.com, and then scroll down to Mighty's. Or you can go to the taskbar at the top. Thank you, Perry. Okay, can we please talk about, okay, there's so many subjects. Okay, friends, we're going to go to Mighty's now. See you there, my Mighties, and those who are not joining, see you next week.